So when I was writing the script for this video, I was like, oh, what's gonna be my intro? And I was like, I don't know, something funny. So I literally just wrote like intro, something funny. And then I just continued. And now that I'm recording, I'm like, dang, I ain't got it. Hey friends, welcome to MerrilyMaralee. I'm MerrilyMaralee. I make videos on getting into the animation industry, living your best life, and every kind of thing in between. This is actually a 3-part series all about landing a production management job in animation. Today is part 2. If you haven't seen part 1, please go check it out. Don't worry. Last week we talked about all the different ways that you can improve your resume. I know you don't want to miss it, so please go ahead, go check it out. And when you're ready, we're gonna dive into networking. Personally, I think that networking is definitely one of the most powerful skills that you can have in this industry. It's definitely more of a who you know kind of business. So stick around. I think you'll find some very useful information in this video. And if you don't need it, if you're already like a networking pro expert, well then I hope you just still hang back with us anyway and chill because we vibing. So let's get into it. So at first, I'm gonna start off with just some like general tips for networking, and then later on we'll get into the more specifics of like virtual networking versus in-person networking. Also, I'm gonna be looking at my notes over here. I wrote a lot of stuff for you guys, a lot of great information that I wanna make sure that you get. I wanna make sure I don't forget anything, so don't mind me if you see me looking over here, because I'm just trying to make sure you guys get what y'all came here for. So generally when it comes to networking, try not to limit your interactions to only, you know, like a what can you do for me kind of situation, you know what I mean? I kind of like to call it like face value networking, where you're just kind of like giving your business card to anything that's breathing. You're just like talking about yourself more than asking questions, and you're just overall thinking very transactional. The true heart of really good networking is establishing real relationships and genuine connections, which means, you know, actually taking the time to get to know people, actually caring about what it is that they do, and just kind of like doing your best to like maintain contact with them if that, you know, becomes like a reciprocal thing for you guys. Networking is definitely first and foremost all about relationships and how well you can establish them, how well you can maintain them, and how valuable they are. And not in the sense, again, of like, what can you do for me? What can I do for you? But like, do you like each other? You know, like, can you guys have a good time? It's kind of like friendship in a sense, or at least that's how I look at it, and maybe that's why I'm so good at it. I don't know. I definitely feel like I look at networking in a different way than other people do. I don't know. I think I'm definitely a serial networker. So you definitely want to aim to establish real relationships, genuine connections, and just really take your time to get to know people, do your best to maintain contact. And before you can even really start to do any of that, it starts with reaching out. So I definitely want to stress that you should never be afraid to talk to anyone. Don't ever think that like, oh, this person's, you know, too established for me to reach out to them, or this person has too many followers for me to reach out to them, or like they'll think I'm a nobody. Like, don't ever discount yourself. Be confident, have confidence in yourself, believe in yourself, know what you bring to the table. We're gonna get to that in a second. But don't ever be afraid to talk to someone, because the more that you idolize someone and like put a gap between yourself, like between like you and them, there just automatically becomes this disconnect to where it's like, I don't know, it's just a different kind of relationship. And I personally am not a fan of those relationships. Like there should definitely be a respect, because, you know, this person is on a certain level that you are not, but you should never want to make yourself or the other person feel like they are better than you, to the point to where you don't even think you're worthy of talking to them. That's That's just a ludicrous idea in my mind. I've never been afraid to talk to anyone. If I want to talk to this person, I'm gonna reach out. And when it comes to like reaching out, what's the worst thing that could happen? You know, is that they don't respond? Like, really just sit in that. The worst thing that could happen is that they don't respond. That doesn't sound life-threatening at all. And at the same time, it's not like you wanna like pester people, right? Like if someone doesn't respond, they're probably busy with their own lives, swamped with their own work, they don't have time. No big deal, don't sweat it, you know? Like you never wanna like, you know, hound people. No one's obligated to meet with you. No one is obligated to respond. Like that is not what they were put on this earth to do. If someone, you know, responds back to you, it is truly out of the goodness of their own heart and like respect for their own time, and like they have the means to do it. But that doesn't say anything bad about the people who don't, you know? So you don't want to get mad at those people, but you also don't want to not shoot your shot. You know, you can't afford to not, like you can't afford to not shoot your shot. And it doesn't even matter if like just don't take it personal if no one's like, if they don't respond to you or something, because someone's gonna respond eventually. But like I for sure like know people who I've hit up on Instagram like asking like, hey, do you mind if I like ask you a few questions, blah blah blah, like really trying to establish a connection, and they never got back to me. And like that's totally cool, because now I work with these people on a daily basis, and now we're just chilling in the lunchroom like what's good, you know? So it's like you don't ever want to like judge someone based on like, oh, this person didn't respond to me or not. Like you have to understand these people have lives, you know, they're busy. They don't have time to get back to you, and you're probably not the only person in their DMs. You also have to keep that in mind too. So you definitely don't want to have like a sour taste in your mouth because someone isn't responding back, but you also don't want to like not reach out in the fear that someone would not respond, because it's really not a big deal. Like it's not as detrimental as you think it is, right? So just do it anyway, you know, send out the messages and be meaningful with those messages. Don't just have like a repeating message that you copy paste and send to everyone. Like personalize it, ask the people about themselves, get to know the people, have some really good questions, you know? And like I said, you don't want to pester people. You don't want to be annoying. First impressions are everything, and you don't want that to be yours. Also, networking is a lot more powerful when it's kind of like a two-way street, you know? So it's like, it's kind of hard to make yourself seem established enough in the beginning when you don't really have that much going on. But you definitely want to try to present yourself in a way where like you're confident and you're confident in your skills, you know? Like how can you present yourself in a way that makes you worthy of connecting with as well, you know? You don't just want to have like a, you know, give and take situation where the person is giving you information and you're just taking it. But like, what are also you giving? What are you bringing to the table, you know? How are you a viable connection? How can you present yourself to me that's like, oh, I actually really like this person. Like, I want to keep talking to this person. Like, I feel like this is a cool person to know. Like, what is gonna make them want to invest in you as a connection as well? Like, really, really take time to sit and think about that, because it's very important, you know, like how you can build yourself up in that way to be that, you know, really valuable connection for someone. And it'll also change the way that the dynamic of the conversation goes, because it goes from being just like me being down here and someone else being like all the way up here, and like me like reaching, you know, like how do I get to where you are, and you know, blah blah blah, you know, like that. It goes from that to something that's more like, oh, I'm really interested in what you do. And then it's like, oh, I'm interested in what you do too. Or just like, I'm interested in you like as a person because you seem like a good, fun individual who has a great personality that would be really fun to be around in that retrospect. Or like, you're really hardworking, you're dedicated, you're committed, you know, stuff like that. Like, show me that you are a worthwhile person to be in my vicinity. Not to sound mean, but you know, like, and you don't have to be a certain way to do that, you know, like, but just kind of show people why you would be worthwhile having around, you know, like, in a sense, like, what is it about you? Give me some personality. Who are you? Just let me know who you are. Don't give me a robot face of just like, hi, I am the perfect candidate for anything that you are considering anyone for, you know, like, just loosen up, be natural, be you. Don't be afraid to be you. That's so cliche, but it's like the ultimate advice. It's just be you, you know, and people will take it or leave it. You know, the people that like it will like it. They'll run with it and they'll remember it and it'll be great. And the people who, you know, it's just like, you know, oh, well, that person's not my cup of tea. Cool. That's okay. You know, you don't have to be everyone's cup of tea. You know, some people don't even like tea. It's not the tea's fault, but we just know that's not that person's preference, and that's okay. Another really great way to kind of control the dynamic of conversation, like I was kind of talking about before, is really just asking those like meaningful and purposeful questions. Small talk is okay, but it's not really memorable. The people that you're interested in connecting with, ask them about themselves, you know? People love to talk, you know? And sometimes they may not always know what to talk about with small talk, but they can usually talk about themselves. Get them going and actually care about what they have to say. Don't just ask them just for the sake of asking them. Like, actually be interested in who this person is. And once they've started talking a little bit, then you can kind of like gauge their sense of humor. Try to make them laugh, get them to loosen up as well, because networking is kind of awkward for both parties, you know? Be interested and interesting, you know? And then like you can also kind of throw in like a fun tidbit about yourself in there in relation to what they've said, like if you have something. But like as soon as you do, then ask them another question, you know, like you don't ever want to run with it. You don't ever just want to start talking about you, me. You know, you just want to kind of let them go. And then once it comes time for them to ask you, well, tell me about you, definitely be prepared. Like I definitely want you to listen and ask more questions, but when someone is asking you a question, you better be prepared to show up and like pitch yourself, figure out a fun and quick way to kind of introduce yourself to people, get to the point of like who you are, what you're here for, and what you're about. And you know, I'm sorry if you hear my husband in the background, he's being a hooligan. But yeah, just focus on having a good time and establishing a relationship that could potentially last. Not just the remainder of whatever event or moment that you're meeting this person in, but even like outside of that, like projected relationship. But yeah, just like focus on having a good time and establishing a relationship that can, you know, outlast the current moment, you know? And that's how the best, most impactful connections are made. But yeah, just like focus on having a good time and establishing a relationship that can outlast the current moment that you're meeting this person in, you know? That's the projected longevity of this relationship. That's what's gonna really be the turning point. And when you walk away from that person, did you have a good conversation? Did you guys have a good time? Do they want to do it again? So let's talk a little bit more about virtual networking in particular. Virtual networking has pretty much always been a thing, but has definitely become more prominent in the events of the pandemic. But it's a pretty interesting thing for animation specifically, because, you know, before, at least from my perspective, it was definitely harder to get into the industry, learn about the industry, all those things, unless you were like actually in a animation type hub location. And a lot of those things were just like closed off from the rest of the general world. But with the pandemic, there became an increased need for virtual options. So, you know, virtual panels, virtual mentorships, virtual organization meetups, and honestly, just overall communication through social media platforms just like skyrocketed. And these are all still incredibly viable ways to network in this industry. Is there a cool artist who you really like and want to ask some questions? DM them. Do you want to know more about production management for animation? DM me. Hit people up on LinkedIn. Do all the things. Attend virtual panels. Studios are always offering them. Attend virtual panels, and then after the panel, like, shout out the panelist on your story or on your profile and thank them for doing that event, and just let them know like how much you appreciate it. Join virtual mentorship groups and not just learn from your mentor, but learn from your peers around you and their experiences of what they're going through. Make really good connections on LinkedIn. I have made really great connections on LinkedIn myself. But here's the thing with LinkedIn, I will definitely say, don't just send out an empty invitation to connect. Personally, I ignore them. I ignore all of them. I actually haven't checked my LinkedIn in a bit. I need to get caught up on those. But if you just send, so-and-so wants to connect, I'm ignoring, because it's like that person, they only just want to connect with you just for the sake of being connected to you. And I know the same thing could be said about, you know, some people who send messages and stuff like that, but at the same time, this person put a little bit more effort. You know, I'm definitely a personalized girly. Like, take the time out, write me a message, you know, explain who you are, how you found me, and what it is that you need. Like, do you have questions? Like, are you looking for advice? Like, do you just want to, you know, get to know each other, you know, be friends? Tell me. Let me know. Give me your intention. What is your intention for reaching out to me? And if you can explain that to me and I relate to it, cool. We in there. Like, I'll connect with you in a heartbeat, because I also want I want to know who you are, because you're not just gonna reap benefits off of me. Like, you know, who are you? Are you someone that I also want to be affiliated with? And also, you really do want to be picky a little bit with like who you're connecting with and affiliating with, because like at the end of the day, you don't ever like truly know these people until you've really spent time with them, right? So that's why I'm very like, it's probably another reason why I'm good at networking, is because I'm also choosy with networking. Like, if someone wants to like, you know, meet up with me or something, like if someone has questions or something, I'll be like, cool, let's put on a Zoom, because it is a lot easier for me to get a read on someone's personality in like a 45-minute Zoom or like a 30-minute Zoom than it is like just through like messaging back and forth. Because more often than not, people will be like, oh, like, could I use you as a reference on a resume? And I'm like, whoa, slow down. We don't really know each other. But the more that I Zoom you, the more that we establish a relationship, you know, then I can be like, all right, I like this person. I would vouch for you. But I'm never gonna vouch for you if like I don't really know you. Like, I gotta know you. Like, we've had to have Zoomed a couple times, you know, like in for a minute, like 3-hour minimum. You know, because that's also your name and face that you're putting out there, and like you want to just make sure that people that are associating with you using your name, or you know, that you really do back them, you know. So just be careful with that. Also, as like a general rule of thumb for like all networking purposes, don't be creepy. So as far as like in-person networking goes, a lot of the same things apply, you know, asking meaningful questions, really caring about the person and their interests, all of that same stuff, make it a fun conversation, make it memorable. When it comes to panels, virtual panels are great. However, I think that there is there's like a certain like special je ne sais quoi about like an in-person panel. It's just a lot more personal, and I don't know, to me it's just a little bit more impactful, and it's definitely easier to network at an in-person panel. I tell you that, because at an in-person panel, if you're going to an in-person panel, you want to sit in the front for like, don't play with me. sit in the front. Don't go to the back. Why are you back there? Why are you in the back? Unless you got to the panel late and there's no other place to sit, why are you in the back? Sit in the front. Sit in the front. When I was at CTN, me and my friends, we were, as soon as they opened the door, we straight to the front row. You're gonna see me. You're gonna see me because this face, you're gonna remember it. It's all a tactic. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think I'm a shy person, but if you're shy and that's really hard for you, please do everything in your power to like get over it. Like, sit in the front, be seen. Don't be afraid to be seen. Don't be afraid to be seen. Sit in the front, ask great questions, and then when the panel is over, stay behind and thank the panelists for, you know, everything that they did. Again, kind of like what you did virtually, where you shot them out on your story, you're gonna do one better and you're gonna meet them. You know, if that's possible, if you can. Like, stay behind, go up to the stage, you know, shake a hand. Thank you so much for everything that you talked about. This really inspired me, yada, 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 fret. And then you just leave it up. You can just leave it there. You know, you can just leave it there. But just get used to talking to really cool, successful people without being all like fangirly and comparison-y of like, oh, they're so much better than me. I'm a nobody. Stop. You know, like, you're cool too, but give credit where credit is due. Go show respect and just show your face and your voice, you know? Be a known figure in this industry. That's the only way it kind of works. Well, it's not the only way that it works, but I am definitely a person who is like, if a door isn't just opening for me, I'm going to kick it down. And I feel like there were no doors into animation just opening for me. Every opportunity that I've had to create it. So that's why I have a very aggressive approach to networking, and I think my channel is definitely geared towards more people like that, where animation isn't just throwing itself at people. You know, you really gotta work for it. I had to work for it. So if this is you really have to work for it. I'm telling you, you're gonna have to get over your fear of sitting in the front and speaking, like, do all of the things, okay? I promise it's gonna be hard the first few times, but I promise it's gonna be so worth it. And you're gonna be so happy with yourself that you were able to get over that fear, and you're gonna be so excited about all the new opportunities that will present themselves to you after you conquer that fear. Also, when you're going to like events like CTN, Lightbox, SIGGRAPH, all those things, make sure you're signing up for resume reviews, for portfolio reviews, all the reviews. Talk to people, you know, talk to those recruiters, get those recruiters to know who you are. Network with those recruiters, you know, make sure you get their names and everything like that. And even if nothing comes through with those little meetings that you do there, hit them up after the event. Hey, I had a 10-minute review with you. Thank you so much. I really appreciated all the advice that you gave me. I made some adjustments if possible. You know, would you be able to take a look at them to see if it's looking any better? You know, like, and you don't even have to ask them to look over your resume again. You could just hit them up and say thank you for that time that we met. I'd love to keep in contact, period, the end, you know? But just don't be afraid to talk to people. Talking to people is really not the worst thing in the world, I promise. Also, when you're talking to people, oh man, if you don't like talking to people and you're definitely a person who doesn't like tension, stuff like that, you're gonna hate this next one that I'm about to say, but you should make eye contact. I don't know, it's like a confidence thing, right? Like, you making eye contact with people, it just kind of shows that you are, you know, that, like I said, you're confident, you're collected, you're present, you're focused, and it's impactful, honestly. It really is. Make eye contact. And you don't have to be like, wide-eyed and like googly-eyed staring into the people's soul. You ain't gotta do all that. But, you know, a warm and assertive gaze goes a long way. So I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to cover today. I'm sorry if this video was kind of rambly. Honestly, I had a full script, it was cohesive, and then your girl just started talking and was not really going for it. I don't know. Listen, I'm kind of tired. It's like almost 11 o'clock at night. It's past my bedtime, y'all. It's past my bedtime. But we're doing this new thing in 2023 called accountability, right? So, and I said I would record this video tonight, and I'm doing it, and I'm showing you firsthand evidence that done is better than perfect. So this video may not be my most cohesive, but I did it. And that counts for something because I wanted to. Hopefully you found something useful in my ramblings. If you didn't, I hope you just had a good time for the vibes. Anyway, the little chaotic vibes that we had here. If you have any, you know, tips for networking or relationship building, please throw them in the comments below because, you know, we all want to learn together. We are a community, we're a family, we're a garden of sunflowers, and this is where we cultivate growth. Thank you for watching. Keep your eyes peeled for part 3, the final segment of our Landing the Job series. And in that video, we will be talking about job interviews in person and remote. So yeah, I'll leave you with that. Have a good day, make good choices, all that fun stuff. Bye.